Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about change. Now, if you've sort of gone through various eras of your life, going from child to adolescent to adult, you've seen changes within your life. You've seen yourself go from something that you recognise, something that you don't recognise, and you look back on previous incarnations of yourself and go, I was a bit different, I was kind of like that. I used to like this sort of thing, or I used to have this attitude towards certain things, and now I have a different attitude towards certain things. And it's important to recognise that these are all natural evolutions within yourself. Sometimes you can sort of sit there and go, I feel like I'm not as blank as I used to be. For instance, I feel at the moment that I'm a little bit less sort of willing to do crazy stuff compared to what I used to be like when I was sort of 18, 19, 20. You know, going out, staying out until 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Now I'm very much gets to 11 p.m. and I want to go home sort of person. And that can feel a little bit kind of, I used to be kind of like that. But that's a natural evolution, and that's who I am now. And it's fine to be like that, just the same way that it was fine for me to be the way that I was in the past. And as time goes on, I'm going to become a different person. Now, change is natural, right? And change can also be incited by certain events that go on in your life. For instance, if you go through some kind of bad time in your life, that usually invokes some kind of willingness to change. So, for instance, if you go through, say, a death in the family or something like that, that gets you maybe kind of thinking about what you're kind of going through in your own mind, who you are, where do you want to be in life, and that gets you to act on those thoughts. So, for instance, you know, I knew someone that their father died, right, and it got them thinking about life quite a lot, and like, you know, I've only got so many years on this planet, and I want to do something with them. I want to be as, you know, fulfilled as I can possibly be with the little time that I have on this planet. And so they started to make a point of traveling more. They started going to, like, you know, Nairobi. They never would have gone to fucking Nairobi if their dad hadn't died. You know, they would have just stayed here and done the same thing that they were always doing. But because a change happened externally, it invoked a change internally. And it doesn't just have to be some big dramatic thing like that, like, you know, the death in a family or some crazy bad thing like being hospitalized or anything like that. It can just be little things, you know, like changing your job, you know, changing job, changing circumstance, changing surroundings, and that can cause you to be a bit of a different person. You take a different commute to work. You know, maybe previously you were driving to work because you worked quite far away and there was a motorway that took you right there. Now you're taking the train to work because there's a train line that goes kind of right there. It's quite convenient for you. And because now you're doing that, maybe now because you've got that free time on the train compared to when you were driving, you're maybe indulging in more things like, you know, reading on the train, whereas you wouldn't have read before. So now you're getting yourself reading because of a change that happened that had nothing to fucking do with reading. You didn't sit there and go, I want to start reading now, so I'm going to begin reading. You had a change in your external circumstances, which caused you to think about yourself and your internal circumstances, and that led you to make the decision to change. And change is completely natural. Change is completely fine, right? As long as you're in control of it, right? As long as you're in control of who you are and what you're doing, right? I mean, for instance, when I quit drinking a year ago, right? It was something that I've been trying to do for a long, long time, and I've been trying to force myself to stop doing it, right? And, you know, I'd quit for a couple of days here and there, and it wouldn't really work, and I just kind of, I felt trapped by it. And what ended up working wasn't some big dramatic thing. It wasn't some huge circumstance like being hospitalized for, you know, some kidney problem or something like that. What actually worked was just waking up extremely hungover one day and smelling the residue from the glass in the morning and going, this is fucking disgusting, I don't want to try this anymore. And somehow that small change that I didn't think was going to last forever lasted until today, and that was over a year ago. So you are in control of change to a certain degree, but I guess it's complicated. There's no black and white, no easy answer, no simplicity to it. It's all, you know, something that you've got to figure out for yourself, right? And if you want to invoke change within yourself, you need to know what that change is to begin with, and you want that change. You need to want that change, otherwise you're never going to change. You know, you see people that constantly go, I'm going to quit smoking, I'm going to quit smoking, and then they quit smoking, they're all like that, right? I need a fag, right? And yeah, they do need a fag, so give them a fag, right? Because they don't want to quit smoking yet. If they wanted to quit smoking, they wouldn't be like that. And obviously it's not that a change like that is just going to be easy, that there's not going to be any struggles whatsoever. But you can tell when someone's gasping for one. You can tell when someone isn't ready to make these certain changes in their life. And as long as there's no external pressure, like, say getting drug tested or whatever, apparently that's a big thing in America. You get drug tested for stuff. As long as there's no external circumstances like that, then you're kind of fine to go at your own pace, We're not talking about huge, giant, sweeping changes to your own life. Like, for instance, having children. I imagine that's quite a huge change. I don't have any children, but I imagine it's quite a large one. And a lot of the things that come with that, there's probably loads of little changes that come along with it that you don't even foresee, that you suddenly have to do because of the change in your overall circumstances, which is something you chose to do, aka having the child to begin with. Right? I don't know, let's say your child comes out and they're, I don't know, say they come out and they're diabetic, right? And like suddenly sugar is a really bad thing to have around, because they're a kid, they don't have any impulse control, they're constantly giving them biscuits and all this sort of stuff. Suddenly, you like a good biscuit every now and then, and you can't
don't
really...
have to feed them, sugar booger.
No?
No.
Well, what if I've got a biscuit tin and they just keep coming at me? They just keep going for the biscuit tin. I can't just keep the biscuit tin there. I've got to hide it somewhere. Like, for instance, when I was a kid, right, my parents used to buy these big multi-packs of crisps because they liked them, but I kept having my way with them. So what my mum did is she put them in the washing machine because she knew I'd never look in there, right?
Good hiding spot.
So I was constantly looking all over the place for them. And
Wow.
then my dad wanted a packet of crisps, and I was in the room with him, and he went into the washing machine, and he just grabbed them. And my mum was like to him later, "Did you seriously just pull out a packet of crisps in front of him? I can't put them there anymore now." And now they knew that I knew that they would be hiding them wherever. So I'd be looking all sorts of weird places.
Yeah.
So that's a change that she didn't want to make, but she had to make. In fact, she probably didn't even want us to be hiding the fucking things in the washing machine to begin with. I mean, that's looking quite nice, that.
Yeah.
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 It's a metaphor, that.
It needs a lot of coats. This is like just one coat, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need a lot more coats.
I'd say probably like 3 or 4 coats.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 at most. You don't want it to be too thick.
No.
But this is a change in an era, like going from all these crazy paintings on the wall to suddenly the white, which you're probably going to maybe do something else with. It's a change in circumstances, and it's a choice to paint over this. What do you say?
I had no choice.
Why are you painting over it?
I'm painting it over it because this is going to be the it's the new set design for a new project, and I need this. It needs to be white. It can't have the previous project there anymore. It has to go. Plus, if I want to sell the place or something like that, or get, I can't, what am I going to do with it? The next person's going to, I can just do it again somewhere else on a canvas, I could have just put wallpaper over it, but I don't know.
But then when you take it off, it's going to be all residue all over it and stuff. You'll probably just take the paint with it when you take it off. So it's probably better to do it this way anyway.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Why was it there in the first place?
Oh, it's for Steve the Stammerer's missing painting. All this, I painted the whole flat basically for as a set design, because the guy in the film that lived here was named Steve the Stammerer, and he was a painter, and he couldn't afford canvases and stuff, so he just painted on the wall, as you would. If you were a real painter, you just paint on the walls, wouldn't you?
Mm.
But I'm not really. I did it for the project. I'm not really a real painter, but it was fun to do. It was really fun to do. It was one of the greatest things I've ever done. That's why it's sad to change, like Josh is saying, because it's like, really does kind of break my heart, but I feel like people, like when they come in the house and stuff, they think like I'm weird because I painted my walls. They think I'm strange, like when I take pictures or something, and they'll be in the background, they'll say, "What's all that paint on your walls? Why is there paint all over your walls? And I have to explain to them why, and then they just think I'm weird, you know. So but I'm used to it now. But I don't know. Maybe it is getting to me. That's why I've changed it. Maybe I've fallen. I shouldn't have done it. I regret doing it now. Shit! Why did I do this?
Well, you still got this wall. You still got all these other walls. And at the end of the day, you're going to be doing a whole new set design here for your new film, and that's a new era, isn't it?
I do have some more paint, you know. This is the paint, Steve. This is the painting. You still got that. We still have some paint left. But no, I'm only kidding. I'm not. That's got to go. Yeah. It's got to be white. And the only reason. I was joking. I was only joking. It was joking.
In big letters. Just write Thames Mariners.
Yeah, like we need to put some sailboats here. It's going to be we're podcasters for the football team, Thames Mariners.
This is for your new film, right?
This is for the new film, and this is going to be where the podcasters are talking. Their radio. You're going to have the radio here, and this is going to be where they do the show. Here, right here, in this room, right here. Behind them, there's going to be like an old football. So if anybody has an old football from like 1889 or something, or 1895, that would be good. Or we could put it here. And we need a sailboat.
Yeah.
A sailboat in here or there, maybe a couple sailboats.
Do any of you have a sailboat?
You know, or we could make sailboats. We could design them we don't want sailboats. We want what's called a Thames barge.
What's that?
Well, it is a sailboat, but they're kind of, I think they were like the sailboat barges of the 1890s back in the day when the Thames Mariners were created as a football club. They were the seas and the river were like the skies, man. People weren't even flying at that point in time. So the rivers and the oceans were the skies. You know, that's how people did all the commerce and business and everything was up and down the river. You know, that's why all the songs are sea shanties. Anyway.
And that's what the new walls are all about. It's all about football. It's about
this new project, you know. It's just a new project, but it's a work in progress.
But it's a change at the end of the day. It's going from art to football, from film 3, Steve the Stammer's Missing Paint, to film 4, Opie at the People.
Yeah.
Right.
Film 4, yeah.
So everything is about a change. And hell, even before you had these paintings here, it looked different before that, and that was film 2. So every time and it doesn't necessarily need to be tied to what film you're doing. It's for you in the audience. You might not be necessarily making films and painting your walls different colours depending on what film you're making, but it's a metaphor, all right? Depending on what your surroundings are, you can change who you are internally. Your external circumstances don't necessarily dictate who you are, but they give you a guide. They give you a guiding hand on where you can kind of go. They give you options, right? Is how I would say it. And it's nice to look back on the changes that you made in your past and see where it's taking you today, and get a sense of who you've been up until now, right? There's so many iterations of you. From the one that came out of the womb, to the one that graduated high school, to the one that stood on the aisle and got married, to the one that's painting that wall now, right? There's so many different iterations of who you are and who you're going to be that it's worth just taking stock of who you are, because you're a pretty decent person at the end of the day. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever your circumstances may be, you're pretty decent, and you're going to continue being pretty decent no matter what the choices are that you make, because you're going to go through changes, and the changes are going to happen no matter what. And the change might be painful in the moment, but you'll look back on it and it'll be all right. thank you all for watching. If you have any thoughts about change and particularly what colour John Henry of Flippin' Distical Pictures should paint his wall next, please let us know.
And if you got any sailboats, barges, sorry.
That's important, that. If anyone's got any sailboats,
barge,
barges,
sails,
or
yeah.
footballs from 1890 or 1895, please send an email to, is it jhwesthead@gmail.com?
Yeah.
Send an email to
Yeah.
jhwesthead@gmail.com and just put in the headline, I've got a football for you.
Well, we don't. It's probably worth something. We just borrow it, really.
Yeah, we'll just borrow it and then, you know, it'll be in the
Hopefully.
film.
It'll be in the film. No, we need all the help we can get. But thank you in advance if anybody has anything like that.
See ya.